Lighter is the boy version of Dehya, but he actually does damage. One, I don't think Lighter reminds me of Dehya much, if at all. And two, Dehya can do damage if you actually build her, but nobody wants to build her because it's not worth it for most people. Don't make me pull out my own Dehya. Show it? Alright. As you wish. Ideally, if you want to use Dehya properly, as a proper, like, actual effective DPS, C4 is a requirement. Because on Dehya, it absolutely fucking sucks trying to get her energy. Because the way she generates energy is fucking weird. And not very good at all. And she has a 70 cost ultimate, which is very fucking awkward for her. And I believe her character stat is, what, HP or something? Some bullshit like that? Again, very fucking weird. Let me mute Z3 real quick. I will have my Z3 screen just on the corner there, because we're still under the Z3 category on Twitch. Let me just explain to you how you would have to build DPS Dehya. First of all, the issue with Dehya is that, again, she only gets free HP stats. Let me just double check that by checking the wiki real quick. HP, yeah, her special stat is HP, which it does make sense on her considering how MiHoYo wants you to build her or how they want you to use her. But it's absolutely horrendous for her stat building. Because she doesn't get any bonus crit stats, or hell, she didn't even get any bonus ER at all. ER is incredibly important for you need at least 20% on Dehya for like a proper rotation in quotes. And even then, what the fuck is a proper rotation on Dehya even supposed to look like anyway? And obviously she wants crit stats because her ultimate is where she's getting all of her damage from. Most of her damage, anyway. So this means that you have to focus on 3 stats at the same time. Double crit and ER. Which is fucking abysmal. Because that means your crit stats have to be split 3 ways. So you have to somehow get enough crit stats to have a good stat line like this. And have enough ER stats so that her rotations are actually somewhat decent. Or at least they're workable. Because anything below 20% and her rotations are god fucking awful. And that's with my Dehya being at C6. And we haven't even gotten to how she should be built as DPS yet. First of all, she needs C4 because her C4 makes it like she refunds her own ultimate energy by punching enemies when she's ulted. This helps out immensely for her. This helps out her rotations immensely because she's directly generating charge for herself, or she's directly generating energy for herself, which means that getting her next ultimate is that much easier. Because again, her ultimate for some fucking reason is 70 cost, and I don't understand why. So MiHoYo can go fuck themselves for that one. People bitching about nerfing Novalet. They should bitch more about how Dehya's ultimate is criminally fucking gibbed for no reason. I do have a copy of Beacon on her. Obviously, it's her weapon. It's her signature. At the very least, it's 33% crit rate. So that's amazing right there. Literally any crit rate Claymore will do the trick though. So if you have Serpent Spine, I think that's good enough. Actually, is Serpent Spine even a good option for her though? Crit rate main stat every blah blah blah. Actually no, Serpent Spine is god awful on her because she wants to take damage. She wants to get hit. So actually no, Serpent Spine is fucking trash. Do we even have any other crit rate weapon though? Verdict is one. The passive doesn't really fucking matter on her though. I mean honestly, maybe Redhorn might be useful just because it's 88% fucking crit damage. I guess Wolf's Gravestone isn't bad because she does want attack buffs actually. Because putting Bennett on her, giving her Bennett support does tremendously increase her damage output. On-field DPS, Beacon, yeah, Redhorn. So if you don't have Beacon, then yeah, unironically, Redhorn is probably your next best option. Did somebody say stat stick? And then afterwards, Wolf's Gravestone. Yes, that makes sense. But anyways, so let's start from the beginning. DPS Dehya, at the baseline for DPS Dehya, in my opinion, is she wants a good Claymore. Right, ideally a 5-star. I don't know what 4-star she could use. Blackcliff Slasher, I guess. I guess that's fine. Technically, it's not too hard to get. You just need to sacrifice some of your Star Glitter, I guess, to buy a copy of Blackcliff. I guess apparently she can also use Luxurious Sea Lord too, which is kind of funny. But ideally, you want to give her a crit stat weapon because she's so dependent on getting crit stats from somewhere. So her weapon, you must prioritize giving her a crit stat weapon, ideally. And if you want to use her as DPS, you're using Vorukasha. At least in my opinion. In my opinion, Vorukasha is her quote-unquote intended set. If your Dehya is not C4 yet, then you have to run a 4-piece emblem. It's not even a question. When she's at C4, then you can afford to switch her over to 4-piece Vorukasha. The problem is that if you want to farm Vorukasha, that means you're farming this fucking domain over here. You're farming this domain. And this domain, you're only farming Vorukasha set and Nymph's Dream. And I think pretty much the only character in the game who actually wants Nymph's Dream is Tartaglia. Because I think technically speaking, Nymph's Dream is his bis now. But like, I don't know who still uses Tartaglia. I don't know, maybe Mr. Tectone if he ever came back to playing Genshin Impact regularly. Because I remember back in the day he had a pretty cracked Tartaglia of all people. Kind of surprising. But yeah, farming Vorukasha is fucking miserable. Because I'm pretty sure you get more Nymph's Dream pieces. The Nymph's Dream set has higher weight. So you're gonna get, that means you get more Nymph's Dream pieces than Vorukasha. So you can go fuck yourself. So farming her pieces is ass, trying to get her a proper weapon is ass, getting good stats for her is ass, and she wants to be at least C4, which is also ass. I mean, she's a permanent character, sure, but getting 5 copies of a permanent character, I don't know, man. I mean, this alone already is, you know, way too fucking restricted for most people. Not to mention, her C6 is ultimately her best constellation because this one Omega buffs her ultimate because it gives her, again, more crit stats. Like the longer she's in her ultimate, the more crit stats she gets, I think, is what this ultimate is basically saying, or what this constellation is basically saying. She gets free 10% crit rate on her ultimate when she gets C6, and she gets more crit damage the more she's in her ult, and the more time she punches an enemy to death. Or she doesn't have to kill them, she just needs to, what, hit them? Yeah, she just needs to hit them, and when she crits. So she has to have good crit rate, and ideally some good crit damage too. Maybe not too much crit damage because you get some more from her C6, but yeah, you gotta get her C6, which is like, what the fuck? And then once you've done all that, then you get something that looks like mine. Keep in mind that this stat line right here, that my Dehya has, 76 CR, 203 CD, and 122 ER, this took me 4 months to do. 4 months of just constant grinding, refreshing stamina or refreshing resin every single motherfucking day just to get Dehya a stat line that looks like this. And then she actually can do some damage. Like, it takes her getting her a pyro cup that looks like this. And I'm pretty sure this is her most recent artifact, if I recall correctly. How much CV is this? This is like 37. So it's like, this is as best as it's gonna get for her. On top of that, the fact that this rolled world once into ER is amazing for her, because that's what bumps her ER above 20% or above 120%. Technically, her what is it? Her timepiece could technically be better, actually. Yeah, but am I gonna go back to fucking farm? What is it? To farm Vorukasha domain again? I don't know, man. Fuck that shit. And a feather that looks like this, and a flower that looks like this, and then a fucking crit damage circle that looks like this. Mind you, the ER here is clutch as well. Getting these pieces was a fucking pain in my ass. What does all that get you is something that looks like this. Dehya. This is my favorite Dehya team right here. I know that technically speaking, there's another bis team for her. I think my chat told me yesterday what it was. I forgot already though, because I don't really care. I think it involves Farina somewhere. What it was, a Dehya, Bennett, Farina, and then one other character. But in exchange for all that, now I get to run a team that looks like this. Mind you, remember, this enemy has pyro resist. Rotations are gonna be awkward against these motherfuckers because they like jumping around all over the place, unfortunately. On another team, or against normal, in quotes, normal enemies, that would have been done much faster. I forget which enemies show up here, actually. Oh, okay. This is a wrap. Yeah, these guys are fucked. If only my Dehya rotation actually fucking worked properly, that would be nice. Well, I guess we can just do it again. Honestly, I shouldn't even use Dehya's ultimate here, because I think these are the last two enemies, but yeah. Oh, these guys should be easy. Let me just build up Dehya's ultimates first. So we get a rotation going. Yep, we should be good to go now. Let's wait for her skill to come back. Alright, let's do this. Yep, that's a perfect rotation. When I see my Dehya do at least like 50, 60, or 70k, depending on the enemy type, because obviously some enemies can have pyro resist, that's when I know that Dehya has her full buffs going. I really like that team. I really like this team, the Dehya team I'm using, because it's all pyro. I only need to worry about pyro. Because having 3 pyro or 2 other pyro characters makes my Dehya rotations very, very smooth. It's like the smoothest that I can make them, which is why I don't run her on other teams usually. Like sometimes I can, but it's I'm most comfortable with the Kazuha, Xiangling, and Bennett team. Because yeah, because Dehya still scales with attack, Bennett's ult will still help, and it helps out massively. Obviously, who doesn't he help outside from, like, you know, the defense or HP scaling characters? Xiangling's there for additional pyro damage, right? She and Dehya obviously will keep doing constant pyro damage to enemies, while Dehya's going to town with her ultimate, punching shit out of people. And obviously Kazuha's there for the elemental damage buff. All their buffs stacked together. And remember that my Dehya has Vorukasha, so enemies are attacking her while she's ulting, which means that she's getting the buffs from Vorukasha at the same time. The only downside is that Dehya's ultimate does not snapshot, as you may already know. It's very important for me to hit my rotations there, though, and get Dehya to start punching people while she's got her team buffs active. Because if she doesn't, her damage does just drop off a fucking cliff. Right, because you saw one of my attempted runs on, I think, 12-2, where my Dehya was only hitting for like maybe 22, 23k. So yeah, hitting rotations on Dehya is extremely important. Dehya can do damage, but her biggest problem is not that she can't do damage, it's the fact that she requires such an absurd amount of, or such an absurd level of investment that nobody is going to feel nobody's going to feel the need to build her like that, or to go through the trouble of building her like that. And which is unfortunate, because in my opinion, this is how Dehya is supposed to be played. Because if you only use her as an off-field, then you're missing out on half her kit right there. Like, Dehya is not meant to be an off-field character, right? Not with how her ultimate works. Like, if you want Dehya to be a proper DPS character, you have to ult with her. But if you want to do that, then that means you're looking at getting her to fucking C4, getting her a crit weapon, giving her 4-piece Vorukasha. I mean, 4-piece emblem can still work, sure, but Vorukasha is what she really wants, at least in my opinion. And of course, you have to get her ultimate level pretty high too. I mean, you can say fuck her normals whenever you're ever going to use those, but you know, you're looking at leveling her skill pretty high, because you know, her skill is still pretty important, and obviously her ultimate too. It's just the layers to just the kind of shit that she wants, just so that you can do whatever the fuck I did just now. No one's gonna do it. Nobody. It's just far easier just for Arlecchino, slap her with any fucking shitty ass 4-piece fragment set and have her do 1,000,000 fucking damage. But you know, limited character privilege, I guess. How long did it take for me to get C6 Dehya? I C6 Dehya instantly. The day she came out, I C6'd her. She is the very last C6 character I went for. The last one. And that was, what, a year and a half ago at this point. And remember, right, back when Dehya was about to come out, right, we had all the content creators putting out their doomer videos, being like, oh my god, guys, Dehya's really weak, we're looking at her numbers in the beta, and we don't think she's gonna be that good. And then she comes out, and then I remember Zajeff putting out a YouTube video on his YouTube channel, being like, I wish I were wrong about Dehya, but it turns out she really is just shit. Even then, even in an atmosphere like that, I still C6'd her ass. Because what can I say? I love hot pyro women. A year and a half ago, that was like right after I lost my That's right, like in the wake of me getting laid off from my first job, I think, because I've had 2 professional jobs so far. But I got laid off from my first job, and so I think Dehya came out 2 months after I got laid off from my first job, and so Dehya was I was like, okay, I can't spend anywhere near as much on Gacha games as I used to. I got to make this one count. Who do I want to C6? Dehya? Okay, let's do it. And so I C6'd her ass. Despite me running out of money, despite, all the rest of the fucking Genshin community fucking saying, oh, Dehya's trash, don't roll her, blah, 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 fucking hate jerking the fucking Dehya's shit train. I still C6'd her ass. And then I spent another 4 fucking months getting all this shit for her. Getting her these kinds of fucking crits. Getting her these sorts of fucking artifacts. Just so I can run a team that looks like this. Then take into Abyss and just fucking rip the shit out of Abyss with. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Do I recommend it to anyone else? Hell no. Don't do what I did with Dehya. I did this for Dehya because I love this character. I did everything that I did to make her actually viable as a proper DPS. I went all the way with her. C6, Kasha set, 75 CR, 200 CD, any 22% ER or 122 ER, triple crown. I went all the fucking way with her. Do I recommend that? Do I recommend anyone else doing that? No, unless you really love Dehya too. Oh, and by the way, good luck getting a copy of Beacon these days. If you didn't roll in that weird-ass Eula and Albedo banner, right, back in the day, back, like, earlier this year, a couple months back. Not even just a couple months back. Wasn't it, like, all the way back in, like, February or some shit? Yeah, that weird fucking banner where they brought back Beacon and Hunter's Path, like, very briefly. Good luck getting a copy of Beacon, too. I guess if you have a copy of, like, Redhorn or something, or hell, even Wolf's Gravestone, I guess that's fine. But you really want a crit rate weapon on Dehya. Crit rate or crit damage, whatever you got. Culture takes precedent. Yes. I always preach on my channel that you should play gacha games for the characters you actually like playing. And unlike most other content creators out there, I actually practice what I fucking preach. If you still want to try making DPS Dehya work anyway, even if your Dehya is not like, C6 or anything, can still try. Technically, I would say try to get her to at least C1, so that way you can give her an HP cup HP timepiece instead. Because I believe, I'm not 100% about this, but I want to say that if your Dehya is only C0, she actually wants attack percent timepiece, but as soon as she becomes C1, she actually changes from attack percent timepiece to HP timepiece, I think, which is why I'm running HP timepiece on my Dehya. And obviously, generally speaking, I'm sure we all have spare HP timepieces than we do attack percent timepieces. Just for that, at least there with C1 Dehya, getting her a proper timepiece for her is at least a little bit easier. Don't run Vorukasha though if she's not C4. Definitely run 4P's emblem. Yeah. She needs the extra energy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She requires the extra 20%. Get her a good weapon, crit stat, or like some sort of crit stat main crit stat weapon, claymore, whatever. Again, if you don't have Beacon or if you don't have a 5-star, right? Black Cliff is available in a Star Glitter shop, but that requires you to spend fucking Star Glitter, and most Genshin players are saving those to buy extra pulls. So do what you gotta do, I guess. Apparently, Sea Lord is also not that bad for her. I mean, hey, it does increase her elemental burst damage. That's perfect for her. So hey, you could use that. Also, it's just funny just watching Dehya run around with a giant fucking fish on her, just holding a giant-ass fish like this. So hey, just for the memes, I guess. And then try to get her ultimate and her skill as high level as possible. That's the most you can really do. That and try to run her in like the best teams possible. Like you could probably try running her in the team that I use her in. The problem with this team, obviously, is that it requires fucking Kazuha, Xiangling, and Bennett. And these 3 characters are already using other teams. So it's like, do you really want to use this team just to make Dehya work? I don't know, man. Most people wouldn't see this team as really worth building, Like, half this roster is already used for Raiden National, and we already know how much better Raiden National is already. And obviously, Kazuha is one of the best characters in the game. Most people who have him probably have him in, like, dedicated teams already, right? Or at least I would imagine so. But yes, just to go back to your original question, Kenzawa, yes, Dehya can do damage. She absolutely can. And the right team with enough investment, she can absolutely just shit all over Abyss. Honestly, this Dehya team has been one of my favorite teams to run in Abyss because ever since Dehya did come out and I was finally able to make her Abyss viable and give her a fucking crit stat line, a stat line that looks like this, everywhere that I've used her, she fucking shits all over Abyss, even in stages where she's technically not supposed to work. Like, remember, I don't know if you remember the previous Abyss cycle we had in Genshin, but I think on 12-1, the first floor, we had like enemies that had pyro. I still used my Dehya team on that floor, and I still beat it. The trick with that one is to make sure to kill the enemy that had a pyro shield or something really fast before they were able to pop their pyro shot. I forget which enemy that was. Even there, when technically speaking, theoretically speaking, Dehya wasn't supposed to work, I still made her work there. Obviously, I'm not going to use her in floors where enemies just start with pyro immunity already, right? Like pyro slimes or pyro abyss mages. That's kind of even then, I've still used this team against Abyss floors that had Pyro Abyss mages because I just chip away at him with the Kazuha. Takes me a little bit, but I can do it, or I've been able to do it. Yeah, this Dehya team it's really strong where it works. The problem, as I've repeated many times over at this point, is it is not worth getting for most people anyway. It is not worth getting her to this point, man. She just takes way too much, and she's a fucking permanent character too. So nobody wants to put in this sort of effort for a fucking permanent character. At least not your average Genshin player. To be fair, right? And I see where they're coming from. Given that Genshin's a fucking gacha game, you only have so much stamina to work with, right? When you have so many characters to work on, and you want to level up the strongest characters possible. Yeah, I completely understand that. So of course Dehya is gonna get sidelined first things first. Like Dehya is definitely. I think somebody in chat asked me if she was a Dehya, if she's a luxury character. She absolutely is. She's absolutely a luxury character. Mavuika will revive Dehya. Oh, we'll see. I thought Farina would be a better partner for DPS Dehya, but it's actually the other way around. Funnily enough. Well, obviously I'm a little cheesed off that Dehya is not appreciated enough. But like just the concept of having characters that are harder to, invest into and like make work, that alone doesn't really bother me, right? Because in any gacha game, right? Any gacha game that goes on for long enough, you're gonna eventually end up getting characters that are noticeably weaker or noticeably stronger than others, right? It's just it just happened to be Dehya who got the short end of the stick, unfortunately for her, right? As much as us Dehya stans would prefer otherwise. What pisses me off personally is actually just one very specific thing. This is the only thing I would really want MiHoYo to fix. Because I really don't know if this was intentional. I'm gonna say it wasn't. There's this one quirk that Dehya has always had, where if she ults, right? You may have seen this before. You may have even heard of this. You may have even seen it before. But when Dehya ults, if you jump with her while she's ulted, she cancels her ult immediately. Dehya's ultimate, for whatever reason, cancels itself when you make Dehya jump while she's ulted. She just immediately stops. I don't know why they designed her like that. Because at first, when Dehya first came out, I was coping. I was like, it's because, maybe Dehya's ultimate goes for too long sometimes, so you want to manually cancel it. And then my chat pointed out to me, well, you can just cancel it by switching it to another character. Like, just switching to another teammate. And that cancels her ult immediately. Like all install type ults do. Right? At least for the vast majority of them. Right? Because when any character has like an ultimate an elemental burst that like installs them with something, right? When they power themselves up with their ultimate, like Itto, Dehya, Raiden, right? When you switch to another teammate, it cancels their ultimate immediately, right? When you switch back to them, they don't have their ultimate anymore. So like Dehya being able to cancel her own ultimate just by jumping is truly bizarre, and I don't know why they designed her like that. Dehya's biggest counter, or the biggest counter to my Dehya team, other than of course just enemies who are immune to pyro normally, is are enemies that combine Hydra and Cryo, right? Enemies that can freeze you, because when you get frozen, you have to press spacebar in order to jump out of it, but you jump out of it. So if Dehya gets frozen while she's ulted, and that can happen, that means that pretty much is the end of her ult, because you have to spam spacebar to get out of it. and by the time you're able to shake her out of it, she jumps. So there goes your ultimate. Oh, and even more bizarre than that, on rare occasions, some enemies in the game, especially enemies that like to burrow into the ground and like pop up underneath you. If you use Dehya against enemies that burrow into the ground and they pop up above you and like knock your character up into the air, Dehya cannot get interrupted while she's ulted, but she can still get knocked up into the air. So what happens is when you fight an enemy like that with Dehya and she's ulted and the enemy burrows and then they pop up out of the ground and push her up into the air, right? They knock her up into the air. She doesn't go into like the usual tumble animation that the flinch, the knockback animation that most characters go into. She just keeps ulting. The problem is that as soon as she leaves the ground and goes up into the air, she gets bugged immediately, where you can no longer rapid fire her ultimate punches, and she just punches at the default rate, which is very slow. Because with Dehya, when she ults, right, she has 2 attacking speeds. One is if you just let her just not even press anything, and she just kind of punches like boom, 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 boom. It's pretty slow. But if you spam left click, she doubles her attack speed, and she goes boom, 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 boom. And that's very good. Obviously, the faster she attacks, the better. Because, she's on a timer with her ultimate, so you want to get as many punches out of her as possible. So the fact that when she's ulted and she gets pushed up into the air, for any reason, literally for any reason, her ult gets immediately bugged and you can no longer use her fast attack speed. She's stuck on her slow punch speed. And that just kills her DPS right then and there. I don't know why it works like that. I don't know. I have no fucking idea why they designed it like that. That's the one thing I want MiHoYo to fix. They can keep Dehya the same everywhere else. I actually don't have a problem with Dehya as she is right now. I don't mind that she's one of the weaker characters, to be honest with you, right? Because, again, like I said earlier, that's just how some gacha characters turn out to be, right? It's not even like, I can excuse MiHoYo for that one at least. But why her ultimate is designed like this, I have no fucking clue. And whoever designed her like this should get fired immediately. Or at the very least, fix her fucking ultimate. And it's truly bizarre because very few other 5-star characters have this glaring fucking flaw. I'm sure there are some, but I don't think any other 5-star in Genshin Impact has this big of a flaw, a gameplay flaw, a design flaw, as Dehya does.